Hello there, and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GAA 0992539. Our top stories this hour. One of the longest standing regions without a coronavirus case succumbs as its first case is recorded yesterday. We're live in Bono and all regions with at least one case as the nationwide figure spirals to 7,303 and hotspots record low or no new cases. Details shortly. 48 hours means 48 hours. The historic court ruling last year requiring institutional changes to include weekends and public holidays in calculating the 48-hour rule within which security agencies can detain suspects. A grand discussion this afternoon with the Attorney General's office, the person who took the case to court in the first place, and the police. And 10 billion cedis, that's what Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta is seeking approval for as additional funds to fight COVID-19. This afternoon, he is in Parliament to justify that request, and we are live there to bring you the details. Join us on DSTV 421 Go TV 144. Remember, by the way, we're streaming live on YouTube and we're free to air on your digital television. Join us with your thoughts on 0540109009. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Let's start the show with a look at the case count so far. How many cases do we have at the moment as of today? 7,303. That's the total confirmed cases in Ghana. You take out the recoveries, you take out the deaths, and that is the number of active cases we have right now. A quick look at the regional breakdown there. Greater Accra region is looking at 5,148, still on top of the chart. Ashanti region has 1,099. The Central region has 360, and the Western now 344. The Eastern region has 117 cases so far. The Western North 62, Volta 59, Northern 36, and the T region remains 26 for some time now. Upper East also 26 for some time now. Upper West 22. 34 people have died. 2,412 have recovered. So what's the latest update from authorities? Director General of the Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedusa Kodie, says Ghana's daily coronavirus case is on a decline, but he's worried at the rate of decline. He blames the slower pace on some Ghanaians are not fully adhering to the preventive measures aimed at halting the spread of the virus. Speaking at a news conference earlier today, Dr. Sarkodie urged Ghanaians to keep to the protocols, and in that case, we'll see a sharp reduction in our daily case count.
The rate of downward trend is the issue, but then the curve continues to point down. So if it is not coming down sharply, it means that our adherence to the various preventive etiquettes is not as maximum as possible. So the advice is that let's adhere to these containment, prevention and control principles. And if you do this well, you will see a sharp decline of the various daily new cases. Lactating mothers being called, there is no official direction to that. So if employers think for one reason they need their staff to come to work, well, we've engaged most of the places of work, and I've discussed with them the various risks and the people that need to stay out. And they are managers, they are using their managerial skills and principles, and if for any reason they think that the particular person or group of people should come to work, our advice has been provided, but then they also, based on the principles of management that they have at the places of work, this is the arrangement that they have. And we have requested to most employers that they have to get business continuity plan, particularly for the essential services.
Dr. Bedusa Kodie there. He also revealed that the previous hotspots like Obuasi, Tema, and Lower Menakrobo have recorded no positive cases in recent times.
Tema Metropolis, which recently was a hotspot, the total number of cases that were reported from Tema were 4. Eastern Region reported reported cases from 2 districts, 7, and 2 from Akwapim North and South, respectively. Central Region, 5 districts reported, and these were from Cape Coast, AAK, Fansiman. AAK reported 5, Fansiman 3, Ebura Dunkwa 1, and Upper Denchra 1. Ashanti Region reported cases from 6 districts, Forikrum 1, Kumasi 4, Kumasi Metro, Ajoso 1, Efija, Kwabre South 1, Marcia West 1, and Kwabre East 1. Obuasi did not report any new case, and I wish to, I'm happy to report and provide the update that the 3 new hotspots that spiked cases, being Tema, Lower Menakrobo, and Obuasi, these were clusters that produced quite a number of new cases that we have had recently, and all these districts did not report any new case within the recent times. Clear indication that the various response actions that have been put in place, trace, we test, isolate, manage the cases, they are providing good results.
He have also provided update on a number of cases as of May 26, 2020, adding that Bono East region is the newest to record a case.
The data is as at May 26, 2020. The total number of new cases that have been reported from 31 districts in 4 regions stands at 186. The regional distribution is as follows. Greater Accra region reported 140 new cases from 18 districts. Central region, 23 new cases from 5 districts. Eastern region, 9 new cases from 2 districts. And Ashanti region, 14 new cases from 6 districts. This brings us to a total of 7,303 positive cases out of 204,000 cases, 909 persons that have been tested. The test positivity rate stands at 3.55%, can round it up to 3.6%. Total number of recoveries as at the 26th stands at 2,412. Unfortunately, recorded 34 deaths. Active cases stand at 4,857. The active cases, you subtract the recovered and the deaths from the total confirmed. 14 cases are severe, but not on ventilators, and 3 cases are classified as critically ill. I'll give the regional distribution, and then Greater Accra has the highest number of cases and stands at 5,148. Ashanti region, 1,099. Central region, 360. Western region, 344. Eastern, 117. Upper West, 22. Upper East, 26. Volta region, 59. OT, 26. Western North, 62. Northeast, 2. Northern, 36. Bono, 1. Savannah, 1. Just a few minutes ago, we had information Bono is having confirmed a case, but this will be brought up based on the information that we further pick from the region and then the affected district.
Well, here is a hint from the man you just heard. He is saying that the service has indications that some of the deportees from Kuwait have tested positive.
The people that came from Kuwait, we are following up with the lab. We haven't finished all the tests of all the people that they took samples from. There are indications that some of them are positive. We will follow up this, and when you have the full reports, you share these reports appropriately. The morgue being full, people require dignified burial. I agree with you. The burial protocol indicates that the health system, the environmental health supporting the various districts, regions, to make sure that they supervise the burial of people with COVID-related deaths. This does not prevent the people to also the relatives to be part of this, but then they have to do this without undue exposure and contaminating themselves. You've given a number earlier that was outlined there by His Excellency the President, the number of people that can be part of this burial ceremony, and it adds up to 25. So indeed, you can still provide dignified burial with this number. The state will not take over the burial, and the family would be supported and provided the guide and the needed assistance for them to do this burial in dignity.
Let's get to the regions and find out what's happening there. Maxwell Kudeko is Eastern Region correspondent. He joins me on the line now. Maxwell, what can you report?
Our case technically still stands at 117 with 86 recoveries. So health personnel tells us that so far the Eastern Region leads in the recovery charts. There have been several attempts or several initiatives by the various stakeholders to reduce the spread, as it were, curtail the spread of the virus. Just yesterday, the Zoom Lion, in collaboration with the Ghana Police Service, fumigated, or they undertook a disinfection exercise in all the police barracks, the police stations, and the police cells within the region. The regional police commander, DCOP Boachi Yadom, informed us that so far there has not been any infection within the police cells or among the men in uniform. So there have been several strategies to, as it were, prevent the spread of the virus. We are told that we have a number of, or a backlog of contact tracing that health officials are still waiting. So we cannot say that we have fully taken charge, or we are in the lead as in battling the pandemic. Just yesterday, you realize that the pandemic in the Eastern region started from the Lower Menya, where about over 70 people tested positive. So there was a fund by the Menya Krobo Traditional Council to support the various health services. Just yesterday, they did a presentation to the two major health centers in Odumate and then also one in the Isawa. The chairman of the committee tells us that it is important for all of us to continue the education, especially within the Lower Menya Krobo enclave, where we had the highest number. Even though they have 100% recovery, we are told that there are still some backlog of contact tracing that health officials are still waiting. So the call has been that authority must intensify education and also provide the necessary preventive equipment across the region. There is one market in the Yulo Krobo district, that is the Inkrokai market, that is noted for its notoriety, or as it were, the blatant disrespect of social gathering within that area. Authorities have tried severally to bring this market women to book, but it has come to naught. So that has been one major concern for the people within the region, that if care is not taken and the authorities don't prevent the overcrowding at the Nkraka market, we may end up having different story in the region.
Well, if you live in the region and you shop at the Nkraka market or you sell at the Nkraka market, you know somebody who sells at the Nkraka market, you want to encourage them to respect the protocols. That's how you keep at this pace and hopefully get recoveries, more of the recoveries. But Maxwell talks about the chairman of the committee, Nana Kwesi Deche, who has been speaking as well. Listen to him. When I return, we'll go back to the other correspondent and before we end with Maxwell.
We can't be complacent or feel as if we have succeeded as yet. Testing is the critical issue, and you can only know as much as you test. Our testing is not as complete or as comprehensive as it ought to be, and therefore the data we have is only related to the testing we have done so far. We don't really know the scope of the level or rate of infections anywhere. We have an idea. And the results we get now are results from 10 days or 2 weeks ago. It's not real-time results right now. So there are lots of variables. So my feeling as a regular citizen is that out of an abundance of caution, we continue to practice social distancing, hand washing, wearing your facial masks, etc.
So Maxwell, this is Nana Kwesi Deche speaking there. What are health authorities themselves doing about making the markets you mentioned, for example, less crowded? Okay, it seems that Maxwell cannot hear me. Let's get to Precious Semevo. Precious Semevo is also joining us. Hello, Precious. Precious, what can you report? If there is any good news from your side, let's start with that.
Well, good news. The good news is that in the Bono region, on the 6th of May was when the region reported its first, case. Thereafter, the region has been spared of, issues or reports of confirmed, cases here in the region. Authorities continue, to try and then manage the situation by way of the safety protocols to ensure that we do not have other reported cases. What I can say by way of figures is that from the 6th of May, that we recorded our first case in Sampa, in the German north of the Bono region. The Ghana Health Services has gone through 966 samples, that is from the enhanced surveillance, and 136 from their routine, samples has also been taken. But relative to the Sampa case, 178, samples were taken as a result of contact tracing, out of which we had 161 from German North, that is Sampa itself, and then they brought it down to Brekum, where they had to interact with 17 other people. But the good news again is that all this contact tracing, the 178 samples taken, the results came out negative. These obviously are good news for us here in the region. But the Ghana Health Services in the region themselves, they have some few issues, some few challenges relative to social distancing and then obeying the safety protocols here in the region. They are saying that a majority of people are doing it out of fear instead of out of necessity. That is according to the Ghana Health Services Director in the Brown Alpha region, Dr. Kofi Issa. Now he is saying that social distancing, wearing of face masks and other things, hand washing under running water only happens when people feel that they are being watched. But the moment they are on their own, then they throw all that under the carpet, and that is an area that he believes that should be worked on again seriously. Now, he is also, saying that citizens in the region have been complaining bitterly about the way authorities, that is the security officials, treats them when they meet them outside without face mask or or following the other safety protocols, they have been, beating them, and that is something that he believes can also work on. He believes that rather these officials can have enough face masks with them so that when they meet you, they will just give you one if they find out that you are without a safety, protection, that is face mask and other things. But his major concern, I must say, in the region has to do with testing, which he believes is a major issue, particularly for suspects, for patients and their relatives. He believes the region used to rely on KCR in Kumasi, but now Tamale has been added. And he is calling for an upgrade of the Kintampo Health Research Center to ensure that the region can cut down drastically the backlog of samples that needs to be tested in the region.
Let's listen to Dr. Kofi Issa, the Bono Regional Health Director. He's been speaking about the COVID-19 situation there.
We took samples from the contacts. All in all, we took samples from 178 contacts. 161 of them from the German North District and 17 from Brekum. So far, from the tests of the contacts we have received, the results all have come out negative. Most of the but let me give a summary of the findings. That we went into town and sampled areas, lorry parks, markets, to find out how they were sticking with the social distancing, hand washing, and what do you call mask wearing protocols. In other areas, things were done very well. In other areas, there's still room for improvement. But the general situation is that as we move from morning, by evening, the masks are off. So that is something that we would have to work on as far as behavior is concerned. Also, you find that people will social distance when they have somebody watching them, especially they know there's a checkpoint ahead. They will definitely social distance. Immediately they pass there, it becomes a situation where they tend to think that they are on their own, which we think that we should go beyond actually letting people social distance or wear masks or wash their hands out of fear, but it should be out of necessity. So the basic question we would want everybody to be asking is not why did you not wear your mask or where is your mask, but please wear your mask. He says, I don't have one. He says, please have one, because you are going into an area which is a public place as defined by the regulations which got sent to us. Logistics, we have been able to send quite a lot. There have been donations from various bodies. The citizens of these three regions abroad also made a donation. There have been philanthropists in town who have made donations, and we know politicians and other opinion leaders. The government has also sent quite a number of barges of logistics as and when is needed. And some of these have been targeted towards the three treatment centers which we have in Winchi, Brekum, and then the regional hospital. A bit of innovation has come in with, coming in when it comes to hand sanitizers and what do you call it, face masks and all that. So, well, right now nobody has any complaints about shortages of face masks or hand sanitizers. It might come in, we will start getting, what do you call it, especially other logistics when we start getting our first case.
And there, the first case has come. Dr. Kofi Issa is also expressing worry over the backlog of samples due to the limited testing capacity in the country. KCCR in Kumasi has been near testing center, and now Tamale has been added. But Dr. Issa says an upgrade of the Kintampo Health Research Center will or can ease the pressure and frustrations of patients, suspected cases, and their relatives.
Our problem has been with laboratory testing. You know, government is making efforts to make sure that our Kintampo laboratory is also up and doing. In the meantime, we send our samples to KCCR in Kumasi and in Tamale. Sadly enough, we have a whole backlog of samples lying there. And it is a bit of heart-wrenching to simply put somebody, especially if somebody's sample got sample got taken actually around the time of the first case that we had. And then up to now, we still have 10 samples, the results of 10 samples pending. And these are things in which you find families have to undergo some sort of anguish. But we're working around the clock to make sure that these 10 samples are sorted out, including all other samples that are delayed. We would say we understand what the backlog or the workload is on the laboratories. They are also doing their best. But you see, when we are dealing with the general public, it comes to a time that, well, if we don't manage the situation very well for people to understand the challenges, despite what all the best that we are doing, it can simply get completely out of hand. So surveillance, we continuously encourage our districts to do the enhanced contact, enhanced surveillance, looking at the vulnerable groups to make sure that they are able to take the samples, and then we would send for testing. For the enhanced surveillance, we've been able to do 966 samples so far. For the routine, we took 136 samples. And you remember when we had a positive case at Sampa, definitely he had contacts, and we have taken the 178 samples. That was the first one. And then we have some are retesting, and hopefully today or tomorrow we should be able to get the results of those retesting from Tamale, because this time we have sent the samples to Tamale. All in all, it has been a very new experience for us in the health sector, because this is something we are used to, outbreaks of diseases, but this is something new to all of us. The challenges that we are having now, we would want to turn them around to opportunities to make sure that at least the gaps that we have identified, we would be able to make sure that we turn them to opportunities and strengthen our system. So as we are working, we're working here, we have our logistics that we received and we distributed. We normally update that one in here.
Let me get to Inatalia Kwanza, that place we're told, the Western region, Takoradi and Takwa, we were told, supposed to be the epicenter in the Western region. I've lost Ina, but I'll go back to Precious to wrap up with him. Precious, now that there has been a confirmed case in Bono, an area that didn't have any, health authorities there doing anything special, particularly special, to make sure that this doesn't spread further? We've seen regions where, you know, there was just one case and the next week they have spiraled to about 16, 20. Are there any lessons they are taking from what has happened in the past in other places?
Yeah, certainly some lessons have been taken. If you heard the health director, you know, he said that on the 10th of May was when the region recorded its first case in Sampa. And from then up to now, 28th of May, we are still with that single case. And as we know, that first Togolese national, you know, has been treated and then repatriated, you know, to his country. So the measures that has been taken to ensure that we don't have a community spread, which as at now we don't have, and they continue to tighten those measures to follow and then obey strictly all the safety protocols, the social distancing, wearing of face masks, particularly at our areas where we normally gather, that is our market centers, and the assemblies have taken measures, to spread the market centers to different locations so that people will not find themselves in a crowded area. And I think so far so good, but a lot needs to be done. It should not be seen or it should not be done in fear, but the residents themselves should see it as a necessity to obey all the safety protocols. And per the Ghana Health Services, if all these are done, then we will be able to maintain the single case that the Bono region North recorded some 3 to 1 month ago.
Hopefully, this one person has not been in contact with so many people. Nathalia Kwanzaa joins me. She's correspondent for Western Region, which we're told has 2 areas becoming epicenters. Ina, what can you report from your side?
As Gifty, so from the Western Region, you realize that the results we have on the national Ghana Health page. So in the Western Region, from the region, we have 352 cases. But when you go to the national, we have 344 cases. On Tuesday, we all heard that the Western region has been identified. As we all know that the Western region had received a lot of admiration from Ghana, from everyone, for exhibiting or leading the social distancing at our markets. But then it comes down to the fact that people are still recalcitrant. As we have the FIAPES meeting, we have been locked down. This morning I've been to all these 5 markets and there are no traders there. It's just closed shops, tables and chairs turned down, and then empty spaces.
Right, so Ina, you went to Takwa and then you're back in the in Takoradi. What happens in Takwa as far as the observation of the social distancing protocols are concerned? We know that there's that problem in Takoradi, but has it improved in Takwa in any way?
The exact issue also in Takwa. You realize that people are really not adhering to the protocol. They have the face masks, but as to put it on, that is the issue to them. I spoke to quite a few residents over there, and some of them still have the notion that they don't think the pandemic is real. They think it is just some.
It looks like I lose you, intermittently, but thank you, Ina, for that update. Let me go to Anas Sabit, Bono East. Anas, what do you have from your end?
SAO's own in the course the second.
Okay, Anas, hang on for me. Looks like Ina still has some more to report. Ina, go ahead.
They believe that the Western region is leading. The Takwa Inshayo municipality is also leading. So it's a mixed situation when you get to both Takwa and then Sekondi Takoradi.
Okay, let's hear from the Bono East, where Anas Sabit is standing by for us. Hello, Anas. What can you report?
Gifty, we just had a confirmation that the Bono East region had reported its first COVID-19 case. It was revealed to us in a press briefing by the Bono East Regional Minister, where we have also the Bono East Regional Health Director, Dr. Fred Admakubati, also been part of the briefing. It is a 31-year-old driver in Yeji, in the True East district of the Bono East region, and we are told this particular driver uses the Yeji commerce route on a daily basis. What the region has decided to do is to enhance the testing, and this particular testing is what has actually yielded this particular positive case. So it's been confirmed now that the region has recorded this first COVID-19 case. Some few results are yet to get according to the
Indeed, a lot of people have said that it's only a matter of when and not if, where all the other regions record a case. And as if you can hear me and if you can give us a cleaner feed in terms of the sound, do tell us what authorities are doing. This one person may certainly have come into contact with some other people. What is the plan by authorities who shared this with you at the press conference to make sure that at least it doesn't spread so far?
Yeah, as it stands, some contact tracing has been done already. Some 8 persons have already been traced, and the authorities are still continuing with their contact tracing to ensure that this particular infected individual will not, all those he has contacted with all this will be able to report into the web, so that will also be tested. In fact, the region all this while has been struggling when it comes to testing. And this afternoon, the Kintampo Health Research Center, a few weeks ago, I carried out a report where authorities here are calling for the center to be captured as one of the testing centers here in the country once they have the logistic, the human capacity also. And they've received a donation of $30,000 from a philanthropist here in Kintampo, and they're calling on individuals also country as they begin, or they're trying to get the equipment to begin this testing. And the authorities are very happy with this, and they are very sure that once they are able to get this equipment, testing equipment, the region will be able to fight this COVID, because the first sector was fighting this is no who are positive or the opposite. So the testing has just begun, and a lot of this are expected once we've had this equipment being installed at the Kintampo Health Research Center. So as it stands, enhanced testing has begun, and going forward, a lot will be conducted here in the Bono East, and that will help in the fight against COVID, according to the authorities here.
Anas, thank you for that update. So I've been connecting with correspondents across the country. I first had a Maxwell Kudeko, who is correspondent in the Eastern region. I also spoke to Natalia Kwanza, our correspondent for the Western region. I spoke to Precious Semevo, our correspondent for the Bono region, which has recorded 1 case. And then Anas Sabit is just telling us they've just had a press briefing where they had a confirmation that Bono East has also recorded its very first case. Do you live in Bono East, or do you live in the Bono region, which has only 1 case so far? Do you live even in the Upper East region, which has had 26 cases for some time, I think about 3 weeks or more? Let me hear from you. Now, police officers at the Ashaiman Command are undergoing tests after 11 more inmates tested positive to COVID-19. Officers started tests today to know their own status. Meanwhile, the positive cases have been isolated at a facility at Tribler, also near the Ashaiman area. Following the development, some measures have been taken by authorities to avert further spread. Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson joins me with more. Hello, Mamiesi. Mamiesi, I'm hoping that you do hear me. Give us an update on how many positive cases there are there in all. Okay, Mamiesi can't seem to hear me, but we're trying to connect with her. Now, but the news, though, is that police officers in Ashaiman are being tested because many more of their inmates have also tested positive. Last week, we told you about how about 9 or so of them had tested positive. Well, today, we're learning that 11 more. Mamiesi has that detail. She'll join us. Let's go to the Eastern region. The Eastern Regional Police Commander is indicating that no police station cell in the region has not recorded a case of COVID-19. According to DCOP Afo Boachi Yadom, this is largely because both police officers and inmates in their custody are following all anti-COVID-19 safety protocols religiously. Well, he's actually indicating that none of them have a case. DCOP Afo Boachi Yadom made the disclosure when Zoom Lion Ghana Limited commenced a disinfection exercise at that police station in the Eastern region. In fact, they also disinfected all other regions, all other police stations in the region.
Deputy Commissioner of Police Afo Boachi Yadom made the disclosure when Zoom Lion Ghana Limited commenced a disinfection exercise at all the police installations in the Eastern region. He said the disinfection exercise will contribute to already safety measures laid down to prevent the infection and spread of the virus at the various police stations in the region. The 8 days exercise will see to the disinfection of all regional headquarters formations, 8 divisional headquarters, 35 police districts, and 106 police stations, including the various cells across the region. DCOP Afobwachi Yadom is optimistic that the exercise by Zoom Lion will further protect police officers in the region.
The Eastern Regional Command has strictly adhered to all the safety protocols to ensure virus-free of our men, their families, and the inmates in our various cells throughout the region. I'm happy to inform you that none of my officers and men in the region has been infected with the virus. No infection has been recorded among the prisoners in our various custody. I'm therefore confident that the fumigation exercise, which is about to start, all our facilities will further enhance our protection against the virus. Exercise is going to be carried out in all our regional headquarters formation, 8 divisions, 35 districts, 106 stations, and various cells across the region.
Deputy Eastern Regional Minister, Mr. Samuel Notete, in an interview with JoyNews, hinted the Eastern region has put in enough measures to curtail the spread of the virus. He said the region has recorded about 80% recoveries of the clinically confirmed cases. According to him, the Emergency Public Health Response Committee have worked closely with the municipal and district assemblies to contain the spread of the virus.
Health committee that monitors or reviews all the protocols or the meetings that we make every 2 weeks. And when we met, from the report that we are getting from the various assemblies, it means that we are really working hard. We want to make sure that we protect ourselves and make sure the people are following the protocols, like the social distancing issue. That's the main factor. And all the markets are being regulated very well to make sure people don't crowd at the place. And I believe that we are doing well. If you can see the records, we are doing well. Yeah. When we started, with the emergence of this outbreak, you see that Eastern region was around the 2nd or 3rd. But now look at it, we are doing better. It means that we are putting measures in place.
He, however, asked some Ghanaians who are advocating for the reopening of schools and eventual ease of restriction not to put so much pressure on the government, but allow the president to consult extensively in the interest of the majority.
I think that His Excellency President is considering all these issues, and he's meeting with the stakeholders in these various sectors. And I believe that by Sunday, he will come out with the directive to us what to do. I cannot preempt what the president will say. So let's hear what the president will say. But I believe that he will consider all these factors to make sure everybody, at least we are met in halfway. We are no more in normal times. And this disease would at least be with us for some time. So we have to protect ourselves and put in measures. I think that's the most important thing. And I want to say that let's wait for His Excellency President to broadcast on Sunday, and then we'll take it from there.
Maxwell Kudeko reports for JoyNews.
Let's head to Ashaiman now. Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson is joining me with the latest. Mamiesi, give us an update on the number of cases in total so far.
So the Sherman Police Station is recording 21 cases so far, Gifty. 10 we reported 2 weeks ago, and then 11 more on Tuesday. We hear from the Sherman District Command telling us that the 11 more that came in on Tuesday tested positive. So together we're having 21 cases at Ashaiman Police Station, Gifty.
And we're told that the officers are taking the tests themselves. Give us an update on that also.
So the test is part of measures being taken by authorities at the Sherman Police Station to avert further spread of the virus. This morning, testing started around 9 a.m. and ended about 2 hours ago. It's going to be in batches to help the police officers to ascertain their status. And so also other steps that the police command is taking is that new inmates that are coming in will not be added to the old cells. They will be taken to different cells at Ashaiman North, Community 22, as well as Middle East, so that they can separate the old inmates from the new ones, so that the new inmates will not be infected by the virus. And even before the inmates come into to their cells, they are tested prior, so that they will know their status as well. So the Ashaiman police is really taking steps to ensure that the virus does not spread. Another issue is that this is 21 cases so far. They've taken 54 tests earlier, and so they are still waiting for 33 results to help them make amendments to the steps they've already taken.
I know there's a Ashaiman police station, and I'm wondering how they'll be able to keep these people and separate people who have been infected. We know that they're keeping some people in Triblau, as you have reported, but how are they handling the numbers and this amidst this infection?
So it's a question I posed to my source, and he's telling me that for now, like I said earlier, they are trying to separate the incoming inmates from the old ones. And so for now, those inmates that are tested positive have been isolated, remaining with others in the cells as at now. So we cannot tell exactly which measures they are taking to control the numbers or for now. But what we know is that as and when they get the capacity, they will be able to reduce the numbers that go into the cells. They do not know as at now what to do yet, unless to, separate the old inmates from the new ones that will be coming in. And then also the isolation facilities at Triblau, which is serving as another place for the positive cases. But for now, the old inmates whose results are yet to come in are still in the prison cell. So until further notice, we will not know the directives or the steps that they're going to take moving forward. But they're telling us that they'll be taking steps per the result that will be coming in later by the health officials.
Mamesi, thank you very much for that update. Mamesi Nyamiche Thompson with an update on the Ashaiman situation. Police officers are taking tests as their inmates, 21 of them so far test positive. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, we'll have a lot more, including the big conversation today. If you have a relative who has been held for 48 hours before, and those 48 hours were calculated without a weekend and without holidays, I would love to hear from you, because this conversation that we'll have will interest you. I have one person who took this case up in court and had a ruling in his favor. Martin Pebu will join me, as well as Mr. Didiok Pemka also joining me for that conversation. I want to hear from you when we return from this break. Do stay. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Well, if you have a relative, like I said, or someone you know, anybody who has been taken in by the police and they were supposed to be kept for 48 hours, and those 48 hours were calculated without taking into consideration a weekend or a holiday. Well, that is about to change, supposed to change after a court ruled. In fact, that ruling was delivered by the former Chief Justice herself, that henceforth, if you say 48 hours, it means 48 hours. Therefore, when police take people in and it's for 48 hours, it includes all days, weekends, holidays inclusive. Martin Pebu is the person who took the case to court. He's joining me here in the studio for our grand discussion today. We'll be joined also by Mr. Didiok Pemka for this conversation. Like I said, I want to hear from you. What are your experiences? Mr. Pebu, you're welcome.
Thank you, Gifty.
It's good to have you.
My pleasure.
And in these COVID-19 times, unfortunately, I can't see your lips, but that's okay.
That's all right.
So hopefully, if there are questions that come along from our viewers, you can take that as well. Okay. And Mr. Pemka will also join us in. But I'd like to take you back memory lane. It's not been too long, December. So looking back, I just want you to refresh your memory. How did it feel back then, before you went into the court and after?
Well, I think this one, it wasn't as tense as you ordinarily expect, because it was the validatory judgment of the CJ And so what we did was that myself and my friends, we looked at it and said, for the Chief Justice to choose this case for her valedictory judgment, it's likely to go in favor of the Ghana as a state. I mean, that is to say, we are going to get the 48 hours to include the weekends. Because I looked at it odd that the last thing she would want to do is to call a case and then throw it out and say this lawyer has brought a bad case to this court and we are throwing it out. Do you see it? Yeah. And so based upon the one and one we put together, we guessed right that we're going to win. So all I mean is that the tension wasn't as much as, let's say, the non-billable or the
But one and one, you've only given me one. Because just because it's a valedictory ruling doesn't necessarily mean it will go in your favor.
Yes, that's what I said. But looking at if the past experience is anything to go by, yeah, it points to a victory. Because that's why I said it's odd that the last judgment would be a judgment that she would take and then, you know, bash the lawyer, you brought a bad case, you've wasted everybody's time. No, that's not it. So rather, it looked the other way.
And a lot of people hailed this decision. Everybody thought that this was a good decision. What triggered it, by the way? Was there a particular situation you encountered as a lawyer that pushed you into taking this matter up?
Yes, yes. Countless. So in times like this, then you don't even know which one to cite as an example.
Okay,
so
give us the most recent.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just the norm. It's something that had worried us so much at the bar, okay, that look, somebody is deliberately taking in on a Friday afternoon, and knowing very well that Saturday no court would open, Sunday no court, and then I mean, it's even worse when Monday is a public holiday. You remember recently we had the Eid holiday on Monday. So can you imagine?
So if you're taking in on Friday, Saturday is out.
Sunday, Monday. So 4 invariably we're taking on a Friday. So those were some of the experiences. So I kept kind of nagging and nagging. Then one day I found the strength to write out a suit, and then I filed it.
What was your most outstanding argument that you believe that you believe did the trick in the eyes of the judge?
Let's start it this way. It's the Supreme Court. The Constitution is there to interpret. So I remember in table number 2, the non-bailable decision, former CJ Wood, you know, she did brilliant in that case. She, I mean, was CJ at the time they did the non-bailable decision. In her judgment, she wrote that, look, it's not the strength of counsel's argument per se. So the point I'm making is that sometimes you may not have the best argument, the best submission, but it's clear that there's an injustice. The court will rise to help you. So for me, I think that more credit should be given to the justices of the Supreme Court. They've shown that really they are there to serve the ordinary man. Yeah, because you see that it didn't just start with this 48 hours. There's a trilogy of cases. You see, cases that had worried that it started with the sureties case. Those days, if you stood surety for somebody who was granted bail and that person absconded, you would be arrested. Yeah. And then you could go to jail for 6 months.
How has that changed?
Yeah, so that was the first one I took to court, and the court struck it out in December 2015. Then the non-bailable offenses came. That was Pebu number 2. That was in May 2016. And then this one. In between, there was another one about discoveries, okay? Before a criminal case starts, those days the prosecution will hide the evidence and then they take out the pieces one after the other. So we fought and fought it for 2 years, and then finally Bafu Boni, this case that ended recently. They also, when they were fighting their case in the High Court, then the head mine had been pending for 2 years. So everybody had lost patience. So they also applied. So it joined my disclosure case in the Supreme Court. Then the court said, oh, Mr. Pebu, this Bafuboni case looks like yours. So I think you should stand aside so that we would give decision. So at least the 2 cases are similar. So the point I'm making is that the Supreme Court has shown in terms of human rights in the last 4 years it's been electrifying, electrifying to say the least.
Electrifying.
Okay. Yes,
I like the word.
Yeah, they've done so well. Extremely.
Right. Yeah. I've also been joining the conversation is ASP Sylvester Sari. He's in charge of legal and prosecutions at the police CID. ASP Sylvester, thank you for your time this afternoon. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
You are welcome, my sister.
Okay, so I'd like to take your preliminary thoughts. 48 hours means 48 hours. That's a good ruling, right? Even from the perspective of the police. I mean, the people who keep the suspect over those hours. It's good news for you, isn't it, as well?
Yes, thank you very much, my sister, and thank you for having me. Exactly, it's a good news for us, and as law enforcement officers, and for that matter, police, we welcome the decision. That decision came at the right time, and we also welcome it in good faith. We have no challenge with it because already, as per the Constitution, we are required to work 24 hours, so which includes Saturday and Sunday, and police will work Saturday and Sunday. So talking about this decision is a practice that police are already practicing, but maybe for want of better word, the Supreme Court must come out to clarify it. So we say welcome the decision in good faith.
It's interesting that you indicate that police are already doing. This is something that police are already doing. Really?
Exactly, because it's obvious and it's right that police work 24/7, which includes even public holidays. All our doors are open to the public.
But so when you take people in, okay, please go ahead. Sorry.
When it comes to 48 hours, we do everything in accordance with what the Constitution says, that 48 hours to us, 48 hours meant 48 hours to us, nothing more, nothing less, which suggests that if a suspect is in our custody over the weekends and there's a reasonable grounds to release the suspect on bail, either conditionally or conditionally, the suspect shall go on bail depending on the circumstances and the nature of the accusation.
Mr. Kwebu, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I mean, for him, it institutionalizes it. But even before the institutionalization, this is something that police already does. If they feel that there is reasonable grounds for bail, they won't unnecessarily keep you over a weekend or a holiday. Is that representative of what you know from your clients?
Not exactly. You see, one thing we can agree is that yes, there were cases that the police would grant bail, or let me say there are cases that the police would exercise their discretion to grant bail. Okay, yes, but what we found was that those ones that they didn't were equally substantial, and it was such a big problem. Yes, it really was. Okay. So it's a question of maybe ASP Asare is seeing the glass as half full. He doesn't want to say it is half empty. So okay. It's perspective.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll start this conversation as we wait on the Deputy Attorney General to also join in. There were a couple of things that were listed that ought to happen for this case for this institutionalization to take place. Yeah. It says here, the Chief Justice must within 6 months of his judgment designate each metropolitan municipal or MMDC to sit on public holidays, weekends and periods of civil unrest, where the safety of judge, magistrate, court, etc., to determine issues pertaining to personal liberty. Is that also something that's already happening, sitting on public holidays and weekends? It's not happening at the moment.
No. Okay. Except there's this one. There's a court for SNET cases and electricity cases. Okay. So those courts sit on Saturdays. Okay. So cases where an employer has failed to pay SNET, the SNET contributions and his own part as required by the National Pensions Act, then he'll be hauled before the SNET court. All right. And then also those who steal electricity.
Oh,
those are on Saturdays.
But even that, it's just on Saturdays. Yes. The weekend includes Saturdays and Sundays.
And okay. Public holidays.
Okay. So we still need this institutionalization to take place. There is also the part that says, it goes on to say, during periods of legal strike, etc., it goes on and on. It says, holding of proceedings in the chambers or residence of judges, magistrates, etc., as may be necessary under the circumstances. So it is urging the judiciary to ensure a system where cases can be held at the residence of judges and magistrates. Yes. Is that realistic?
Yes, I understand we had it in the past. senior Opon, Daniel Opon.
Okay.
He was told by an older judge that, oh, this way you guys have brought back is not new. When they were younger, that used to be the norm. I understand it was the murder of the judges that contributed to the three judges, you know, the matters of the rule of law. I understand it was their murder that helped to stop that practice. So we've just done Sankofa, we've gone back.
I see.
Yes, there are a lot of things you see today. We did them over 100 years ago. I remember I was telling you about the way police would keep the evidence. Yeah, in 1876, that was when we started practicing it, where you give the accused everything. Then around 1960, we cancelled it. Then 2018, we returned.
Okay. And hopefully we'll be able to get that institutionalized. Let me bring you in ASP Asari. There's a part that talks about what the police must do. It says the Inspector General of Police must, within 6 months, ensure that police prosecutors and investigators are duly sensitized to, 1, operationalize the article of the Constitution, and then there are 3 others. Let's start with these things. The first one, sensitization, so that the service operationalizes this article. I want to find out, next month is the end of the 6 months. What is being done within the police service to institutionalize this? It looks like your microphone is mute. Okay. All right, let's try and get him to fix that microphone issue. But Mr. Kwebu, then there's also the part that says the director, well, it talks about overpay, over time. I don't know why I'm just slipping on my words. Yes. Today. So the Judicial Secretary must, within 6 months, make necessary arrangements and provisions for the determination of rates for overtime work and payments of same to the judges and the magistrates who will be affected in accordance with the law. Additional payment. Do you get the sense after your interactions throughout the period that we have the judiciary has the budget to support this request?
Oh, I think so, because it's a constitutional imperative. I know even also under the Constitution, to guarantee their independence, usually it's made in such a way that the government doesn't unduly interfere in the budget estimates that they prepare. So for me, it doesn't appear the cost will be too much of a challenge to bear.
But then what recommendation will you have to make it even more effective?
So one thing is clear, that it's not going to be every court that's going to sit on a Saturday, Sunday, public holidays. No. So it depends. So look at something like this. You know, as we referred to earlier, there are courts that are already sitting on Saturdays, but for SNIT and electricity cases. Yeah. So what I envisage is that some of those judges will be asked to take on extra cases. That's to say the bail applications for those who have been kept in custody that the police don't want to release within the 48 hours. You see, so all over the country, all those courts that are already sitting, we are going to piggy ride, sort of, you see it. Yeah, so that's going to reduce the cost, okay, because the judge is coming to work anyway. So if you were to add some applications, yeah, then
they'll be able to work on it. Okay.
Yes.
Let me go to the police. ASP Asari, I think I have you now.
Yes, I'm online now.
Yes. So the question was, the part of the recommendation, the ruling here that says that the Inspector General of Police must do this within 6 months. That is to ensure that police prosecutors and investigators are duly sensitized to operationalize this new, if you like, this amendment to the law. And the fact that completion of investigation into a matter for which a person is arrested or detained is not a requirement for processing the person to court under Article 14.3, and accordingly the carrying out of investigation into the case is not a legitimate justification for failure to bring that person before a court within 48 hours of the arrest detention. Essentially saying that the IGP must make sure that the prosecutors are aware of this and they make it part of their plans. They essentially institutionalize it. They put it, they create a system where this is a part of the usual duties. What has the police done on it so far? Next month is when the 6 months ends.
Thank you very much. As I indicated earlier, the police administration welcomed the decision in good faith. And in line with the decision and the directive by the Supreme Court, the Inspector General and the leadership of the police administration took it upon itself, especially through the Director General Liga, who is in charge of all prosecutors nationwide, and when it comes to the crime investigation, to the Director General CID. So the Inspector General then directed this Director Generals who in charge legal and prosecution and that of criminal investigation to come up with a strategy which, effective from the time the decision was given, they roll up. There was a strategy, or there was a training for detectives and as well as prosecutors are also concerned. So I know that nationwide prosecutors have been sensitized in terms of this decision that we're talking about now. Now prosecutors are aware that 48 hours includes Saturday and Sunday, and for that matter, the court is going to sit Saturday and Sundays, which does not require any excuse whatsoever. Again, when it comes to the crime investigators, which comes under the direct control of the Director General CID, he has also, through the detective training school and other regional crime officers, have also educated investigators in that line. So no investigator, as it stands now, has any excuse or has anything to say that he or she is not aware that 48 hours include Saturdays and Sundays. And for that matter, what I can say for now is that the police administration is only waiting for the operationalization of the Saturday and Sunday court. So we are now only waiting for the judicial service and for that matter, the Chief Justice to come out to say that this court are the court sitting for criminal purposes Saturday and Sunday, and we are ready to meet them.
So the police is ready. We're waiting for the operationalization of same at the level of the courts. Mr. Kwebu, what do you say?
Oh, that's very gratifying to hear, to say the least. It's good to hear that they are doing their best and that they are ready. So it means that we should be happy about it. Yes.
I see. Yes. Okay. Let's see what's next here. It says, in fact, that a person arrested or detained must be brought before court as soon as the minimum paperwork necessary for bringing that person before court under Article 14.3 is completed, without the need to wait for the exhaustion of the 48 hours. The fact that, that's the third one, the fact that the police may so motu release the arrested person conditionally or unconditionally at any time after arrest, even within the 48 hours. I'm assuming that you go for a case, you have a particular case on your hand, and then you go there to a particular course that you expect to work on a weekend, but they don't work. What happens? What will the police do?
For now, when we get to the state that the courts have been authorized to work over the weekends, and you go there and the court is not working, then it will depend on the nature of the accusation and the surrounding circumstances. So many things go into the releasing of a suspect, because bail, as it were, is a right. But before even the court grants bail, the court takes so many things into consideration to even take into consideration the nature of the accusation, whether or not the accused person is likely to stand trial. All those things will be taken. The same procedure is what the police is going to look at, whether or not the accused person, though the court is not sitting this Saturday, what do we do? Is it reasonable under the circumstances to release the accused person to appear in court Monday? If so, then the police will then the authority will decide and release the accused person on bail. But if it requires, or the circumstances and then the nature of the accusation suggests that the accused person should not be released, you realize that even under Article 40, which you indicated right away, said that whether conditionally or unconditionally, we may decide to elect to come under any of those two legs, either conditionally or unconditionally. And even with that, we can still say, okay, today is Saturday or today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday morning. We need more time to continue or to undertake investigations. And for that matter, it is also the position of the law that if releasing the accused person on bail, for instance, police inquiry bail, it may go a long way to hamper your investigation. Emphasis on this, hamper your investigation. Or if the accused person or the suspect may likely interfere with your witnesses, the law gives the police the discretion that is given to the court to exercise, to weigh the pros and cons. And again, you have to also know that when it comes to the liberty of a suspect, it also is subject to liberty, is subject to public policy and public safety in accordance with Article 12 of our Constitution. So the fact that you have liberty under Article number 14, remember that the public policy issue is also under Article number 12, and that, for that matter, public safety. So before the police take this decision, they will consider all these things. And the catchword in the Constitution under Article number 12 is that subject to public policy. So you should know that the police are going to take public policy, public safety into consideration. So by so doing, they are telling you that the liberty of the accused persons is by one way or the other subject to public policy and public safety, the community interest. All those things will be taken into consideration. And trust me, as law-abiding, as adherents to rule of law, the police will ensure that justice is done, and for that matter, to the accused person, that of the community at large.
So it sounds to me like there's a lot of discretion then placed in the hands of the prosecutors, isn't it?
No discretion placed in the hands of the prosecutors per se, because when it comes to granting of bail at police level, that is not the discretion of the prosecutor comes in, but it's the discretion of the investigative department. Prosecution comes in when the case have to go to court. Then the case have to come to the prosecution desk or the prosecution department for them to study and then prefer the appropriate charges and go to court. But when, assuming the case is within 24 hours, the police still have the discretion to grant bail. Within 48 hours, the police still have the discretion to grant bail. But whether or not the bail should be granted would depend on the nature of the accusation, and again, surrounding circumstances, and again, public interest, public safety. So many things will be taken into consideration. That is why even the police within the 48 hours can still go to court and then lead the court or invite the court to remand the suspect or the accused person into lawful custody to enable us to continue with our investigation.
I see. From my common sense point of view, there still is a lot of discretion for the police. Yes. So you can decide that this person can compromise my investigation, so I'm not going to let them go. Yes. And in that case, will you still count the 24 hours, the 48 hours, the holidays and the weekend, yes. 24 hours?
Yes. Yes. So what he's saying, I think to clarify a bit, what ASP Asare is saying, and he's a lawyer as well. Yeah. What he's saying, he is divided the police service, I mean, at least for the purpose of the comment he made, investigative department and then prosecutions. Yeah. But I think your question was directed to the whole police service as an institution.
As far as my common sense leads me.
So it's still the same police. So ASP Council, what we are saying is that the discretion still lies with the police. But you are specifying that in this case is the investigative department that determines whether to grant a bail or not. Yes, but at the end of the day, the discretion is still with the police because the investigators are also policemen. Is that also? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So what the law is saying is that the decision, the one who has to call the shots, the one who has to decide whether somebody should stay in custody beyond 48 hours is a judge. Yeah. A judge of a competent court of jurisdiction. You see, so depending on the offense, it may go to the district court, circuit court, or high court. Okay. So the Constitution envisages a situation where if the police don't want to release him, it's good you even read that instructive part. You've done a good job at it. The CJ said, don't wait till the 48 hours is up before you send the person to court, because the law says within. So it means that if by the 6th hour it's already clear to you that you don't want to grant this person bail because you think he will hamper investigations, okay, prepare his docket, put him before the court, present your argument, then the defense, that's the suspect or accused person, and his lawyer will also present their own arguments to the court. Yeah. Then the judge will look at both and decide. So ultimately, the decision to keep somebody beyond 48 hours belongs to a judge, and it depends on the offense that will choose which particular judge. Okay. Yeah. So that's the whole point.
Ah, wow. Mrs. ASP Asare,
Hello.
I don't know whether the plans you have to institutionalize this at the police level has any systems that will avoid or prevent the abuse of this amount of discretion which we see in this scenario.
I don't think there's any challenge in terms of when it comes to the police, because even though we've not, the system, for that matter, the judicial service or the Chief Justice has not operationalized the 6 months will come to play maybe somewhere next month. We are still even working, even despite the challenges. I don't know whether you are aware, but my learned colleague there is aware of what we call electronic even allocation, okay, of criminal matters and both civil matters. Now, for some years now, there's a system called electronic allocation of cases. Now, all these things must happen within 48 hours. What then is the electronic allocation of cases? Hitherto, when you finish your case, you just carry the docket, go to the registrar assign you to a particular judge, depending on the nature of the offense. If it's a circuit, you go to circuit court judge. If it's district, you go to district court judge. If it's high court, you go to the high court registrar to assign the case. But now the system is that when you finish, for the Chief Justice to be able to control certain things in the judicial play, there's this electronic allocation system. When you finish, you send your docket to the registrar's office. The registrar will then register the docket, then send it to allocation, where it will go back to the Chief Justice Secretariat for the case docket to be allocated to a particular court. And I'm telling you that at times it even takes a day or two for one particular case to be allocated. So we are all working within these 48 hours. So if the court is going to work Saturdays, we are ready. As I indicated to you, the leadership of the police administration has done that already and has sensitized the men, both prosecution and investigators. We are ready, even to the extent that we even take dockets to court within 24 hours for it to be allocated. And taking into consideration that the allocation alone may take minimum of a day. So if minimum of a day, we then entered, assuming you went to the court within the 48 hours, then the allocation, add allocation minimum of a day to it. You're talking about 72 hours. That 24 hours is not within the domain within the domain of the police. By then, the docket have left police custody into the judicial custody. So now it's within the judiciary to come back and tell the police that, yes, your case docket number 1 has been referred or allocated to court number 2. Then immediately you move the accused person to the court. So even at this challenge, with all this challenge, we're still playing within those challenges. So we are only waiting that we believe that when the Chief Justice operationalizes this weekend's court, we believe that this allocation system will also be looking at, because once we carried our docket within the 48 hours, we are straight to the court and to do court business, subject to other challenges that may come up. But for now, I don't think the police has any system, has put anything in place to frustrate this 48-hour, which includes weekends and whatever. No, what I know for now and for sure is that the leadership of the administration has put in place. There has been training that has gone on both for prosecutors and for investigators, and they are ready. As I tell, even if we say we are beginning tomorrow, we are more than ready.
Wow.
Okay, you say wow.
Yeah, Council, you've done well. I mean, once the police service are ready, I mean, we should be happy about it, because it's for all of us. Because sometimes, we think that we are kind of protected from the abuses, but you can never tell when it may just get you.
When it gets to your turn. Well, I've been asking you to share with me your experiences. If you have any questions, like Pebu is here as well to answer. We do have the police legal representative, I should say, also here, if you have any concerns. But we had billed to speak to the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Pumka. Unfortunately, my producers are unable to reach him as we started the conversation. Maybe he's gotten involved in something and he couldn't leave. We don't know, but we had spoken to him and we're billed to have him, because they are part of this provision that we need to hear from the Attorney General's department on. I mean, they have to operationalize this in the first place, right?
Yes, because the police, the work the police are doing, they're actually doing it on behalf of the Attorney General. I mean, they're prosecuting the cases, because it's the Attorney General's duty, but the Attorney General doesn't have enough lawyers, so they've ceded some of the work to the police to prosecute.
So we're unable to have him at the moment. But ASP, if I can come back to you, in the program that you have, or the strategies that you have, you say you are ready. Is there a sort of sanction regime to make sure that officers who go contrary to what the law says are detected and punished duly, so that it serves as a deterrent?
Thank you very much, my sister. Let me put it on record that there is a sanction regime, not merely because of this judgment, but that regime has been there since Adam. Because the issue is that when you are tasked to undertake a particular task, whether or not you are a prosecutor or you are an investigator, you are required by the regulations of the service, and you are also mindful that you are guided by the constitution of this country to make sure you discharge your duties in accordance with law. So no police officer, you cannot say that an accused person is due for court Saturday, and for that matter, I'm going for funeral, so I was unable to go to the court because I had a funeral. That excuse will not be tolerated. There is a clear sanction for it. It's a clear absence from duty, and there's a sanction for it, and there's a serious regime in place for that. So and officers are aware, they are aware that Saturday and Sunday, as I indicated earlier, everybody is aware, every service person is aware that Saturdays and Sunday, including in the 48 hours. So if it has to do with you going to court, if it has to do you going to give evidence on Sunday, you cannot say that I went to church, so I was unable to go to court to testify. That would be impossible. And the administration, and I know the leadership of the service, the Inspector General and his men, will not pardon, because there is a regime over there.
Okay. Mr. Kwaku, do you have any thoughts on the back of all that he has said so far?
Yes, on the matter of the allocation, that yes, currently sometimes you send a docket. So you see, the police come from their offices, that's the prosecution unit, with a docket. Then it has to be registered in a way, and then a court assigned. So you see, that process is now been subjected to what we call electronic allocation. Okay. That's why complaints sometimes takes 2 days or more. Yeah. Obviously, in order to adhere to the Supreme Court ruling, it will require that either the electronic allocation is done especially for the dockets that the police will bring, or maybe they will make an exception and do a manual allocation for these Saturday and Sunday courts. Yes.
But in the case where some of these things come up, these allocation issues and all of that come up, it means that we will still have people spending more hours in the custody of the police.
You are right. So I'm envisaging that, look, to avoid it, maybe they will just do a manual one. At least these cases, we don't expect them to be so many that they will overwhelm this in a few personnel. Because if we are not careful, then the allocation rather eats up the 48 hours. It will
exactly.
It will look ridiculous.
It will defeat the purpose.
That is the word. Defeat is more straight to the point.
I'll take your final comment. A.U. Farouk from Tamale says, congratulations to lawyer Martin Kpebu for testing the law. The unfortunate problem for me is that when we were doing the Zoom, we can't put the number on, so some of you may not have seen the number. Let's see if I can do the few that I have at the moment, because we've already run out of time. We need to call it a wrap. Okay, I saw a question. Right. This one is not a question, it's more like a comment. He says, these are the type of positive and proactive lawyers that this country needs. I salute you. Please continue the good works. Please, may I know why sometimes people just accuse someone without any evidence and the police end up putting him or her in cells only to realize and release him after the ordeal? Hamza is asking from Tamale. ASP, can you help us with this?
Very well, my sister. Depending on what Hamza referred to as without any reasonable grounds, you know, it's an allegation as it stands. Any case that's reported to the police is an allegation, and the police must then receive this an allegation and commence investigation into it. But without cross investigation into this matter, you wouldn't know the merit and the demerit of the whole allegation. And every caller is potential ally. You need to ensure that every complaint that comes to your doorstep, as a law enforcement officer, you've been paid by the taxpayer to make sure that you investigate and you do your work diligently. So once the case comes to the doorsteps of the police, it's the duty of the police to investigate. Maybe you standing afar, you may have information to that particular issue, which the officers initially may not be privy to that particular information. So you may see the case differently from the point of view that the police is seeing.
So why don't you explain to the people? Because sometimes all it takes is this explanation for them to understand.
Exactly. The explanation is where you have to, when you are an actual party in the matter, the police will then explain the procedures and the system for you to appreciate it. But if you are not a party in the matter, maybe you are sitting in your house and you are just taking a feedback from a brother or from a colleague or from a friend who has been to the police station there, the person may misconstrue whatever that is happening at the police station to you. So you may have your own perception, which may be incorrect. But the issue is that investigation must be conducted. That is why the Constitution says that within 48 hours, the police has a discretion to release the person on bail if they realize that the grounds for which or the allegation for which they are investigating requires that the person can be on bail whilst they go on with the investigation. They will release you on bail. There's no way police will not keep you unduly in cells when there's a mere allegation without any iota of they will never keep you.
I see.
So if they have any such a challenge, I will urge such Amza and whoever has such a challenge to just call on the police station, most of especially the senior police officers there, just bring the issue to their attention, and I trust with the right to move with that.
Okay. How about we find some time and create the platform for people to ask some of these questions for the police to answer, as part of building public confidence in the police as well. Maybe subsequently from next week we can have a conversation like that.
Yeah, that's.
You are welcome.
Okay, so the people have seen you. They've seen your promise. So when we come and we say we called him, he didn't pick up. They'll know that you failed them. So we'll come to that. But thank you very much. And I said that because there's a question I don't think we can go in because I've run out of time. I need to wrap up. He says there are many districts without courts in Ghana. And what is the Chief Justice doing to make justice delivery accessible to all? These questions we can hopefully create the space on this show as we go along. Then we can answer them. Martin, let me take your final thoughts and we wrap up.
So maybe final comment. This whole case started because of the abuse. So let's add that, look, it's a fact that some police were abusing the rights of citizens. Look, I have a lot of work to do. Nobody pays me for this work. So if I have so much work to do, there's no reason for me to go chasing cases that don't solve societal problems. So, and that for the Chief Justice to choose this as a valedictory judgment, please, it tells you that a lot of water is passed under the bridge. It was such a big problem. You see the one who asked. Big men were abusing it. They said, we'll show you where power lies. On a Friday afternoon, when they pick you, somebody owes another. It's a civil matter. Then they go and see the police and turn the police into debt collectors. On a Friday afternoon, then the police take the person into custody and all that. Look, it was such a big problem. So let's face it. That's why the Chief, don't forget, the Chief Justice, she retired because she's 70, right? It tells us that these are people who are older than us. They've seen the law being abused by the police. That's how we solved it. So it's not good for us to deny everything and make it look like the police are perfect. No, they are there to protect us. We'll support them. But when they go wrong, we expect that certain things be done to correct, like what the Supreme Court has done.
Okay. ASP Sylvester, sorry, I say a very big thanks to you for joining us for this conversation. It's been very insightful. I have a lot of questions here. Hopefully next week we can create the platform, like I said. ASP Sylvester Sari is the legal, he's in charge of legal and prosecution with the CID for the police, and Martin Kpebu himself here is a man who took the case to court. He won it, and he's been doing a lot of pro bono work as well as far as social, I almost said social distance, as far as human rights are concerned. And thank you for sending in your messages. Sorry that you couldn't send them earlier because we didn't put the number there earlier for you. We'll get to it next week. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is in Parliament. He wants to borrow 10 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana. Why? We'll get to know. Do stay with us. And to our final headline story, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is in Parliament today requesting for approval to borrow 10 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana to help deal with COVID-19 related challenges. The Bank of Ghana Act requires parliamentary approval within 7 parliamentary sitting days, and today is the deadline since government sourced the money from the central bank last week. Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Marcus Beyeboa, says the move is important to help keep the economy on track. But minority spokesperson on finance, Casey Latoforsen, says his side will not support the request for approval, arguing that government is piling up too much debt in the name of dealing with COVID-19 and which is hurting the economy. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is joining us live from Parliament. Joseph.
Hello, Gifty.
Joseph, yes, we know that the finance minister has already been in Parliament. Let's talk about the argument he makes for it and how this all ended in Parliament.
So the document in question has been referred to Parliament Finance Committee, chaired by Dr. Marcus Beyeboa. But there is even controversy there as to what the next steps will be in how the House will handle it. For the majority leader, Osei Menstabun.
Well, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo there, he just went frozen on me. Of course, this is a technical internet issue, so we'll try and fix that up. But essentially, the finance minister wants 10 billion cedis to push the economy or shore up our economic gains, even as we deal with coronavirus. And the opposition, of course, or the minority in parliament are not having any of it. Well, let's hand over and do Let's Talk Showbiz. We end it here. We'll bring you that report in our later bulletins. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo will bring you those reports in our later bulletins. Thank you so much for making time to join us on this program. Make a date again with us tomorrow. And there's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Gifty Andapia. Becky and Avio are standing by to talk showbiz. Do stay.